Welcome, everybody. I'd like to acknowledge the many traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and honour their elders past and present, in particular to the Turrbal and Yagara peoples whose country I live, I work and I raise my family. I respect their deep and enduring connection to land, waterways, surrounding clan groups since time immemorial. We cherish the richness of First Nations peoples' artistic and cultural expressions, and we are privileged to gather on First Nations countries. Welcome to today's information session and webinar about equity, the Arts and Disability Associated Plan. My name is Zohar Spatz. I am the Head of Community and Experimental Art Form at Creative Australia, and I have had the great privilege of working with a collective of passionate and visionary leaders, government, artists and arts workers who have enabled this plan to be developed. I'd like to now throw to Camilla and Ken, who will be joining me now to introduce themselves. Camilla, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Camilla Broska-Smith. I'm the Director of Access, Participation and Inclusion section in the Office for the Arts. Ken, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Ken Crouch. I'm the Head of Industry Development from Print Australia, and it's great to be here with you today.
Thanks, guys. And also thanks to our Auslan interpreters, Marnie and Natalie, who will be here with us. Today's session will be brief. It's an overview of the plan. It's an opportunity for us to share with you our partnership in the development and soon to be delivery and implementation of the plan. We'll be together for about 30 to 40 minutes, and please know that as we progress through 25 all the way through to 28, we will be hosting more sessions and more opportunities for us to keep you updated on relevant initiatives. But for now, let's get cracking, and we'll start with Camilla. Could you give us a bit of an overview of the plan itself and its development?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So equity is a 4-year roadmap of activities to build the foundations for equity for artists, arts workers and audiences with disability across Australia, with an $8.1 million investment from July 2024 in actions to drive change. But before I actually jump into the details, I really wanted to flag that the government does recognise and recognises in the plan that not all practitioners and workers in Australia's arts and cultural sector actually identify with the term artist or arts worker. So we know that in the screen and digital games development industries, some of the preferred terminology is screen worker or practitioner or digital games developer. We know in the literature and publishing sector, you have authors, illustrators, editors, booksellers. But for readability and in the webinar, we're going to use the broad term artist and arts worker to cover all practitioners and workers across Australia's diverse arts and cultural sector. So just a little bit kind of going back in time, I think it's a little bit important to talk about how we got here, because we really built on the work of a lot of people that certainly came before me. So in 2017, arts and cultural ministers from the Australian government and states and territories decided to renew the National Arts and Disability Strategy, which had been published in 2009. So there was a big consultation in 2018, but after that consultation, the Australian government decided to renew the strategy as a Commonwealth Government associated plan under the former National Disability Strategy. Obviously, that happened in 2018, so there were some delays. One of the things was that the government wanted to make sure that whatever we put in the associated plan matched up with Australia's disability strategy, which was actually published in 2021, and there were also some COVID-related delays. But then we came to 2022, and in 2022, the government did a public consultation process to develop the National Cultural Policy. And there were a lot of submissions to that process that actually advocated for greater disability access and inclusion in the arts and cultural sector. So when the government developed and created the National Cultural Policy, which was Revive, a place for every story, a story for every place. It included a commitment to deliver an arts and disability associated plan with $5 million for implementation activities under the plan. So, as you can imagine, after all of that time, we were really keen to deliver the plan and make it happen as quickly as possible. So we really wanted to build on the consultation that had already happened and not redo it. And so we looked at the findings from the 2018 consultation and the submissions, and we tried to figure out what the priorities were for people with disability to participate in the arts. And we actually did some targeted consultation in 2023 with arts and disability organisations, including peak organisations and artists and arts workers with disability and advocacy groups, to try to test the priorities and the findings from those many consultations. But actually what we heard in the discussion was not around what the priorities are, but actually that it was really important that people with disability be involved in co-designing the plan and in its implementation. So that was how in 2023, late 2023, we ended up convening a diverse group of 13 artists and arts workers with disability to co-design key elements of the plan, including its priorities and actions. So the co-design working group, which was a really significant process, there were 6 fully accessible workshops, and it was, you know, in-depth discussions about a range of issues that are impacting artists and arts workers with disability. So after the workshops really did shape the plan. And in particular, the working group identified a couple of key things that have really, that you will see throughout the plan. One is the need to centre artists and arts workers with disability in the plan. And the second was really around focusing on achieving equity for people with disability in the arts, screen and cultural sectors. The other thing that happened in 2023, and this was kind of a separate process, but has also influenced the development of the associated plan, is that Creative Australia had commissioned an arts and disability needs analysis and audit to gain insights into critical service needs for the arts and disability sector in Australia. And the findings of that really significant piece of work happened to come available around the same time as the working group was meeting. So the result of all these streams of consultation and activity was has come through the development of the associated plan. And there are probably 3 key things that the plan does. The first thing is it recognises that ableism, which is discrimination or prejudice towards people with disability, results in an ongoing lack of equity for people with disability taking part in the arts as consumers and workers. The plan is going to invest in actions that address barriers in actions to support artists and arts workers to make great art and build connections with their peers and potential markets. And the plan will also support activities to build the foundational capability of the wider arts and cultural sector to provide safer, more accessible and more inclusive workplaces and businesses. The government does recognise, as we were developing the plan and in the plan, that the wider arts and cultural sector has a key role to play in driving more equitable outcomes for people with disability. But it's also important to note that the government is aware that many parts of the sector have really experienced significant challenges to their sustainability in recent years. And that includes things like the impacts of the cost of living increases and impacts of natural disasters and the long-term impacts of COVID-19 across the sector. And we also were very aware that there are varying levels of accessibility and disability confidence at this stage across the sector. So there are differences between the different subsectors within the arts and cultural sector. So the plan will take a staged approach to implementation, where we want to achieve sustainable progress. We need to balance the need for change without imposing significant additional administrative and financial pressures on an already stretched sector. So we'll be consulting with different parts of the sector to create a shared understanding of the challenges that they're facing to become more equitable. There are a number of funded activities under the plan, some of which are being delivered by the Office for the Arts and some by Creative Australia, and we'll talk about those in a bit more detail later in the webinar.
Thanks so much for that overview. I'm keen to hear more. That the plan is going to be delivered as a partnership between the Office for the Arts and Creative Australia in close consultation with Screen Australia. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that approach came to be, Camilla?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we recognise that the wider arts, screen, digital games and cultural sectors have a critical role to play in achieving progress towards equity. But we also realised in our consultations that there are really diverse operating models in different subsectors, as well as diverse levels of existing accessibility and how they even interact with government and their commercial models and how they interact with customers, consumers, all sorts of things, even the physical spaces that they take up. So we realised that solutions and engagement really needed to be tailored to individual subsectors, and also it needed to be based on a really deep understanding of how the sectors operate. So that was the basis upon which that we really, like Office for the Arts, realised that we needed to partner with Creative Australia and also work really closely with Screen Australia to take advantage of the expertise that sits in those organisations, as well as the existing remit to support Australian arts, screen and cultural, the arts, screen and cultural sectors. So that was the main reason and the main focus for that partnership and relationship. But we also recognise that it's important that we have a unified approach across the Australian government's key agencies in this space as we implement the plan over the next 4 years. So that was how we really thought about that when we were developing the plan. But I guess going back to you, Zohar and Ken, what do you see as the roles of Creative Australia and Screen Australia in making sure the plan has a real and sustainable impact on the Australian arts, screen and digital games and cultural sectors?
Well, I think firstly, Creative Australia is just so excited and recognise how important this partnership is between the Office for the Arts and Screen Australia and the broader sector. These key stakeholders have to come together to make sure that we deliver the best possible initiatives and actions that are outlined in equity. So I think obviously in our role as a co-deliverer with the Office for the Arts of those initiatives, it's really important that not only are we delivering things, but we're also keeping in touch and we're keeping the sector up to date and informed across the entire 4 years of all of the different pathways that you can engage with this particular opportunity and all of the initiatives that sit within it. Ken?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's very similar for Screen Australia as well. I think our role is to work closely with and to support the Office for the Arts and Creative Australia to get the best outcomes for people with disability and to really help and work together to improve the access and equity across the arts, screen, games and cultural sectors as well. As Camilla said before, the screen and game sectors for us often use a different terminology. At times we have different ways of, things like employing people or how we run our businesses. At the same time, we're also really aware that our practitioners and game makers actually go across a lot of sectors as well. They're not just in the games and screen sector, they actually go across everything. And I think that goes for a lot of our people in the creative industry as well. So similarly, we see our role as, using our knowledge and expertise to ensure the opportunities under the plan get the best outcomes for people with disability, but also making sure that we use our networks and our connections to communicate the opportunity to our practitioners and explain how those opportunities can help to progress their careers.
Brilliant. Let's unfold some more detail. And Camilla, let's put up some detail around the investments and actions under the plan. And you can kick us off with slide number 2, talking through some of those funded actions.
Yeah, thanks. So the plan includes a lot of funded actions and then some actions that are being delivered by the Office for the Arts and Creative Australia that do not have specific funding. But I will primarily focus on the funded actions, and there are some additional actions that I won't talk about today, but there's more detail in the plan as well. So I think the one that many people will be most interested in is the $2.25 million for an Arts and Screen Employment Pathways pilot program. So this program was about matching early to mid-career artists and arts workers with disability with arts organisations, arts and cultural organisations, including in the screen and digital game sector, for temporary employment places. But probably the key thing is we wanted to make it, we wanted to expand and build on some existing programs. So we're actually looking to fund placements for up to 12 months, but recognising different parts of the sector or different subsectors will have different needs in terms of how long placements would be. The funding for this program actually doesn't commence until 25-26, and the placements themselves are not expected to commence until 26-27. In terms of developing it, the next 12 months will be really focused on the consultation on the grant design. So we have some details that we've worked out in terms of the general profile and approach to the program, but we will actually want to consult with the implementation advisory group when it's set up, arts and disability peak bodies, and the wider arts and cultural sector, just to make sure it actually meets the requirements of the people who will be involved. So the pilot it'll actually be administered by the Office for the Arts, but it will be delivered, so the actual placements will be delivered by a service provider or providers, or a consortium of providers. So, and that they will be responsible for selecting the placement organisations and the participants and matching them, and also providing support to participants over the life of the placements. The participants will be employed under any applicable award or agreement wages or conditions. So because this is not an internship, it's about skilled arts and skilled artists and arts workers with disability being able to apply for these placements in these organisations up to at least mid-career. The pilot will also include a capped pool of funding for accessibility adjustments that aren't available through existing programs, such as the Employment Assistance Fund. We'll also be undertaking an evaluation of the pilot to inform in future investment decisions. The pilot, as I said, it's about supporting artists and arts workers with disability to build professional skills and networks to advance their careers, but it also will contribute to greater accessibility and disability cultural safety in the arts and cultural sector. And for the organisations that take part in its implementation, placement organisations will get access to skilled talent whose salaries will be paid through the pilot. And the organisations that currently provide services to artists and arts workers with disability and have experience in improving organisational accessibility also will be able to, through the program, supplement existing resources and build their experience and networks through the program delivery. So, as I said, we'll be consulting with the sector and the implementation advisory group once it's established in 2025. So There's also the $1.2 million for accessibility activities at live music venues and music festivals through the 2024-25 Revive Live program. So this commitment is that over 1.22 million of the 2024-25 grants program Revive Live is supporting activities to improve accessibility at contemporary music festivals and live music venues. And that is expected to provide increased participation opportunities for audiences and career pathways for musicians and music workers with disability. The 1.2 million was earmarked for accessibility improvements only under the program, and the applications to access the funding had to demonstrate consultation with artists or audiences with disability, or that guidance material from an accessibility specialist had been followed. The successful recipients of this funding were announced in October 2024 after the application process happened in August this year. So the next steps for that work will actually be to understand the impacts of how the activities have actually supported people with disability in terms of increasing that access and increasing employment opportunities. I also wanted to mention a couple of other implementation activities that we think are really important as part of implementing the plan. So an activity we've had a lot of questions about is the Implementation Advisory Group. So I guess convening the co-design working group was incredibly valuable to developing this plan and to developing a plan that we think will actually make a difference. And coming out of that, we really wanted to kind of continue that process through the implementation of the plan. So we, in order to kind of have that continuity, we are looking to establish an implementation advisory group that builds on that model of the co-design working group, and that will be established for the duration of the plan. We're still working out some of the final details, but the group is expected to help shape the actions and commitments as they're implemented and contribute to monitoring and reporting activities and co-design the plan's evaluation framework. Some important elements that came out of the co-design working group is that the Implementation Advisory Group will be a paid advisory body made up of people with disability from diverse backgrounds and with experience in the arts, screen, digital games, and cultural sectors, so different art form experience. There will be a competitive expression of interest process to appoint members to the group, but we're still working out the details of that process, which will happen in the first half of 2025. So there'll be more information on our website and social media channels in the coming months. And that will include things like more detail about the activities of the group, the time commitment, remuneration, and also, of course, how to take part in the expression of interest process. The other thing I wanted to mention in this webinar is that throughout the consultation and outside of the process of developing the plan, we heard that people with disability who are, engaging in the arts as consumers and workers are actually impacted by a range of services and policies outside of the arts portfolio when they're trying to do this. So I'm talking about things like transport, accessibility of buildings, how other government policies and payments like the NDIS or disability support pension or disability employment services interact with people engaging with the arts as workers or consumers. And it wasn't in the scope of the plan to address all of these issues, but the Office for the Arts will be responsible for implementing the commitment in the plan to increase cross-government coordination on these kinds of issues. So we'll be trying to, in particular, ensure that the unique operating structures of the arts and cultural sector are considered when the government is developing or reforming policies and programs. So there is a lot of reform happening particularly in disability policy, but other areas as well. And we just want to really make sure that that artists and that their lives and considerations of people trying to be artists and arts workers in particular are considered as that work happens. As I mentioned, there are some other actions detailed in the plan, but I just wanted to touch on those key ones in this webinar. So I'll now hand over to Zohar to speak to Creative Australia's actions.
Thanks, Camilla. I will skip all over this slide, so bear with me. But first up, I'd like to just confirm a really exciting uplift to our current arts and disability initiatives. So the plan will devolve funding to Creative Australia at approximately $200,000 a year, not approximately, exactly $200,000 a year every year for 4 years to see an uplift and an expansion of our already existing arts and disability initiatives. So that funding pool supports seed funding for or the development of new works. It helps support artists, arts workers, build the practices, skills, or networks of artists and arts workers, and it supports other sector responsive programs. Our first uplifted suite will open in early 2025, so stand by. Our arts and disability services. So I can now confirm that the multi-year delivery partner for disability arts services is a consortium of the Australian peak bodies for disability arts who will deliver services and drive a more ambitious vision for the sector. So the key personnel driving the consortium are lead agency Access to Arts in South Australia, Arts Access Victoria, Access Arts in Queensland, Dada in WA, Accessible Arts in New South Wales, Insight Arts in Alice Springs, and Arts Access Darwin. So collectively, they are going to come together, and their key deliverables will include supporting industry resources, connecting practitioners, the advocacy work that they already do, and supporting the sector with leadership. There's also a commitment to continue Creative Australia's already existing Arts and Disability Annual Awards, which some of you might already be familiar with. We have our Established Artist Award at $50,000 a year and an Early Career Award for $20,000 a year. And of course, the Life Changing Fellowship, which is $80,000 for a year. Some new and really, really important and exciting initiatives, the National Arts and Disability Forum and Gathering. So the associated plan provides Creative Australia with devolved funding of $600,000 across the 4 years, and we'll have 2 key outputs. The first, we're going to call the forum, will be accessible online events across 2025 and 2027 for formal discussions and information sharing on national disability issues in the arts and cultural sector, including the screen and digital games industry. And the second, the gathering, perhaps, will extend the work of the forum as an in-person event with online elements in 2026 and 2028. And the focus of that is to really build wider sector awareness of the work being produced in the arts and disability space, as well as do all of that connectivity stuff that the forum is also doing. Again, a new initiative, a very, very important one, is that funding of $250,000 across the 4 years for the development and maintenance of the National Arts and Disability Code of Practice to set the access and representation expectations for the arts, cultural, screen, and digital game sector, including workplaces. So the Code of Practice will identify options for improving and maintaining accessibility. It will outline approaches to best practice engagement with people who are deaf or have a disability. And importantly, it may be developed by Creative Australia, but it will be done so in collaboration with Screen Australia and creative workplaces. So we can all work together with the Office for the Arts to tackle ableism and improve accessibility and drive equity for deaf and disabled artists and arts workers, screen practitioners, and digital game makers. And finally, the First Nations arts and disability needs and projects. So this will be again devolve funding to the First Nations First Board at Creative Australia of $50,000 per year for a total of $200,000 to fund First Nations disability arts needs and projects. So this investment is in addition to the funds already provided to the First Nations Board through Revive, and that board will self-determine the allocation of that investment. So we're going to move to the third slide so we can tell you a bit about what the next steps are and how people can get involved. Camilla.
So I'm going to break script and make a comment about the last slide, which is, I was just reflecting, one of the things that we should really make clear is how much interconnection there will be between all of those actions. So it sounds like we're talking about a list of actions and money, but actually we're, with the forum and gathering, we will want to have discussions at those, we want to draw on what we hear at those sessions to help, to help design the pilot, the grant, the big grant, the employment pathways pilot. And we'll want to make sure that there is kind of connection between what the implementation advisory group is working on, so that there is some engagement between their work and what's happening with the gathering and the forum. And also, the implementation advisory group will be consulted on the National Code of Practice. So it's a very much an interconnected program, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important that that the three agencies are working together, and that's why we're doing this webinar together. But anyway, I'll go on to the next slide.
We're here.
What was the question again?
Well, how do people get involved?
Oh yes, yeah, good, very good question.
Next step.
So, I mean, as I've kind of already said, our key priorities in the Office for the Arts over the next few months is very much establishing the implementation advisory group, because obviously they will need to be involved in many of the activities that we are delivering. We're also going to be consulting on the design details of the pilot, as mentioned earlier, to make sure it actually meets the needs of the people who are going to use it, but also recognises the differences between the sectors. So a really quick example of that is that there may not be a lot of placements and projects in the screen space may be quite a bit shorter than projects and placements in, for example, museums. So we need to make sure that it's flexible enough to accommodate that. We'll also be starting outreach with the wider arts and screen, digital games and cultural subsectors on their barriers and opportunities to achieve more equitable outcomes for artists and arts workers with disability. So over the next 12 months, absolutely, we'll be regularly updating our social media and website, particularly to promote specific implementation actions under the plan. So, for example, when we release the expression of interest details for the implementation advisory group. And if you go to our website now, you can also fill in the contact form on our webpage to receive updates or to leave us any feedback on the plan. Zohar and Ken, is there anything else I should mention?
And I might hand over to you.
No, I think everything's been covered so well. I suppose for screen practitioners and game makers, just make sure that you signed up to all of the Screen Australia social networks and also signed up to our regular e-news. And that's where we'll be sharing all of our information about what upcoming opportunities are. Or if you'd like to contact someone directly at Screen Australia about the plan, then please feel free to email adap@screenaustralia.gov.au. Other than that, back over to you, Zohar and Camilla. Thank you.
Well, brilliant. Thank you. And thank you so much to both of you for your time today, and Camilla for such a thorough overview of what's come before, how we got here, and where we're going. I hope for everyone who's joined us online, you found this to be a really informative opportunity to hear more about the plan. Please stay in touch. Please keep informed. We're really looking forward to working in partnership with all of you to deliver equity, the Arts and Disability Associated Plan. There will be more information coming in the new year. And obviously, all of these handles are here for you to stay in touch. But thank you again. It's been a real joy to actually be here at this point to be able to share all this information with you. I hope you have wonderful days, and we look forward to seeing you soon and updating you with more information as it comes to hand. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.